Hello there and welcome back to the number one Contender podcast, the show where your favorite man bun nerds sit down and talk about the movie trivia schmodown. I am your host, Jarod the Dark Jedi Bachman Stubbs, and joining me is your resident Green Lantern Professor Black Leader Travis Grossman.
That was a lot. You did yell that, and it was a lot of words.
It was.
You can keep it to one title per show.
Yeah, I just want to hit them all real quick. I don't know. I felt the urge to just run the gamut on them. We took a week off last week because there wasn't a whole lot to talk about.
Well, there was, and we just didn't know it until the day of and went, well.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Okay, that's a good way to put it. There was something to talk about, but by the time we had already decided we weren't doing an episode, it was too late for us to mobilize and make it happen. So here we are. There is one thing that isn't in, the only thing in the notes really are the upcoming matches that were announced, which we'll talk about. I do want to talk about the team captain's prospect as well.
The what?
Oh, did you not see that?
No.
So the factions on top of their managers are also going to have team captains.
Why?
Is
this in the event that two players play each other?
This is 100% to attempt to avoid that.
But what happens if one of them's the team captain?
Great question, Travis. I don't know. I mean, I like it. I like that we're really getting into the nitty gritty of the factions and the teams and everything. I like that we're making it count. The only one I am aware of that I've not seen anything about, which means that in 5 minutes, Commissioner Harloff is going to drop a just massive swath of every team captain with their stats and factions and whatever. The only one I'm aware of is Roka being the captain for the exchange.
That makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. Only because I know he made a passing comment on backstage. He was like, as a team captain, I have a responsibility to blah, 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 blah. So we know Roka is the captain of the exchange.
We can go through real quick and take guesses.
Okay, the easy one. KO is definitely Corruption's captain.
And Snyder's definitely the Stars captain. It might be in Draco.
I think Snyder's a more entertaining captain for the Stars.
Yeah, it depends on what the actual duties of a captain are.
Yeah, I think it's more entertaining if it's Jeff. I think a more level-headed, will happily follow him into the pits of hell captain would be Andraco.
Mm-hmm.
I think Merle is easily the captain of
it could be
the
Bateman.
dungeon. It could be Bateman. It could even be Parker.
Yeah, I think. Again, I don't know what the role of a team captain is. So.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll figure all that out eventually.
He hasn't said yet.
No, I haven't seen anything about what the team captains actually do. And again, this could very easily be outdated by the time that it comes out, and we'll have a full list and all of that good stuff. Anyway. I lost my train of thought. Oh, okay. So Bibbs is going to be the Mercs, I think.
Yeah, that seems like an easy pick.
I'm stuck between Ethan Irwin and Drew McWeeny for the suspects.
Yeah,
because Sam and Drew obviously have the chemistry, above the line. It was a thing. So.
Yeah, it could go either way there. I think if you want someone who's been in, granted, McQueenie only stepped out for a season. He ended at the beginning of season 7. So if you want someone who's more accustomed to, especially the remote playing and the new format of the game, I think you pick Irwin.
Yeah.
But I think McQueenie would do fine. For the Den, probably Paul Preston.
Maybe Paul for like familiarity with management,
Yeah.
or conversely, if you want to go with who the most experienced is,
yeah, Mark Riley.
I think Yodi
But-
might be the shoe in there.
I think that's all up to how much Riley's looking to get in. But oh. We're both lagging tonight.
We both, yeah. Everything you do is screeching halt there. I really like this concept. I'm interested in where it goes. I like the idea of having kind of somebody to lead from the front aside from the manager. So I think it's a neat concept. Are we missing any factions? Do we run them all? It always feels like we're missing some, even when we have them all there.
I have Swag, Chandru.
Oh, Swag. Chandru, maybe even Paulo Yama.
My bets are still on Chandru.
You still think Chandru?
Yeah.
Chandru is belted currently. So yeah, either way, I like the team captain concept. I want to see how many of these actually come to fruition as we predicted them. With our luck, Elliot Dewberry's gonna end up being the captain of corruption. So, okay. What order do you want to do this in? Do you want to do hype for next week's match first and predictions, or do we want to run through upcoming matches?
We'll run through the next month of matches. I think we'll do the stuff for next week last.
Okay, that's what I thought we should do. So, like we were referencing earlier, Christian Harloff did end up dropping basically the schedule for the Schmodown through March. So it is as follows. On March 3rd, in the Inner Geekdom division, Amaru Moses and Jesse Swift of the Usual Suspects and the Quirky Mercs, respectively, will be going head-to-head in Inner Geekdom. On March 4th, Sean Sullivan of Corruption and Marie Wilson of the Usual Suspects will be going head-to-head on March 4th in the Star Wars division. Vinny Mancuso of Swag versus Marisol McKee of Corruption in the singles on March 5th. And then also on March 5th, as a pay-per-view event, we will have a number one contender match, show's over, between Dangerous Dan Merle and Jeff the Insider Snyder of the Dungeon and the Stars, respectively, in the singles division. That'll be on March 5th. On March 10th, in the Inner Geekdom division, we have Saul of the Den versus John Humphrey of the Quirky Mercs. On March 11th, Brother Loomis of the Finstock Exchange will be going toe-to-toe with Frankie Alvarez of the Usual Suspects in the singles division. Here's one that's going to leave this podcast torn asunder. Chance Ellison of Corruption is going toe-to-toe with Brendan the Kid Meyer of the Quirky Mercs in the singles division on March 12th. Brandon Hanna of the Stars will be going toe-to-toe with Eric Zipper of Swag in the Inner Geekdom division on March 17th. Gold Leader of the Finstock Exchange will be going up against Lacey Gillerin of the Den in the Star Wars division on March 18th. William Bibiani, jumped ahead. Janine the Machine of the Stars will be going head-to-head with Jader Paramo of the Den in the singles division on March 19th. William Bibiani of the Quirky Mercs will be going up against Paul Oyama of Swag in the singles division on March 19th as a pay-per-view event. And the main event for that pay-per-view event will be Alex the Demon Damon of the Stars versus Andrew the Hunter Dimolanta of the Quirky Mercs in a Star Wars title shot. If I want to come back to this one because this one has like the most potential fallout.
Mm-hmm.
I want to kind of run over some of the big ones here, but this one especially. And that also is part of the March 19th pay-per-view event. Video Drew of the Dungeon will be going head-to-head with Elliot Dewberry of Corruption in the singles division on March 24th. Christina Velasco of the Stars will be going up against Rick Radis of the Finstock Exchange in the singles division on March 25th. Paul Preston of the Den will be going up against James White of Corruption in the singles division on March 26th. Liz Shannon Miller will be going up against the Outlaw John Roca in the singles division on March 26th as part of a pay-per-view event. And the main event, I'm assuming from how they're listed, is going to be Ben the Boss Bateman versus Mark Yodi Riley in the singles division on March 26th.
It's a double main event.
It's a double main event?
That's how he promoted it.
Okay. I like that phrasing, actually. So, yeah. And then that's the last match for March, it seems. Which one is sticking out to you as one you're looking forward to the most? Off the top.
Merlin Snyder in singles. Chance and Meyer in singles. I guess the Star Wars title match, but at this point I'm just putting bets onto like where Demolanta loses. And that's not a shot at Demolanta. It's just like usually it's whenever they miss their first question is the moment of okay, now the match is over.
You know, Sean Sullivan, I believe it was Sean, had a really interesting interview on Backstage a week or two ago. I think it was Sean. I want to say it was Sean. I could be wrong. But he was talking about, no, absolutely it wasn't Sean. It was a Dragon Con person. But he was talking about how a lot of people have that same instinct of, oh, I missed. Shit, it's over.
I think that's just what happens in the Star Wars division when you're playing Alex Damon. Like,
yeah,
I think that's just a mindset. Like, now that I've missed, that's a point I can't make up, and he's not going to drop a question.
Yeah, I have to pray that he's going to get hung up on
the 5-pointer, and I'm going to hit my 5-pointer, and that'll make the match. And that's if I'm perfect the rest of the game, which now that you're in your own headspace, you probably aren't going to be.
I will say this much, though. Like, nothing but respect for Alex Damon. He's not invincible.
Oh yeah, he missed I
don't think he's had a perfect game. I can't think of a match where he's not missed a single question.
No, and that's the thing. Like he always misses when it doesn't matter anymore. Like I want to say he missed a question against Ace. Like he almost had a perfect title defense.
Yeah.
And I think it's the difference of the mindset where when you're in the beginning, you're neck and neck, and you miss that first point, going, oh shit, I'm behind now.
Yeah.
Versus Damon missing it at the end of round 2, and he's gotten every other question and going, well, I missed one. It's fine. Yeah.
No, I think you're right. For me, I am. Okay, since we're already talking about Damon versus Demolanta, I think a safe bet is to assume a Damon victory.
Yeah.
Proven commodity, all that stuff. That said, I think this affects the future of the Star Wars division in a very interesting way if he were to lose.
Oh, if he loses, all of a sudden everything's game. Like,
if he loses, like the immediate chaos that ensues, because let's say Alex Damon loses this match. He gets an automatic rematch against Demolanta.
Does he?
He's defended more than 3 times.
Okay.
So going off of that rule where it's like 3 defenses, you get an auto rematch.
Well, if that was the case, then Merle should be getting an auto rematch against the Coyote, but he's not.
I don't think he defended 3 times this season, though. Like, since he got the belt, I don't think it's been 3 defenses.
I think you're right.
Because he won it at the beginning of the year.
He defended against Bateman and Irwin. Yeah, okay, I think you're right.
And then the third match would have been Adam Collins.
Yeah. Has it always been 3 defenses and then you get an auto rematch? Is that just a thing?
Yes. I don't know what season that rule started, but I remember Harloff like specifically saying like you've defended 3 times, you get a rematch. There was also the fact that like Mara Kanopik was like guaranteed a rematch. Like it wasn't like because of a title defense. It just
yeah. She had one for like I don't remember why.
I think it was plotline reasons.
Yeah,
Like somebody there was some type of okay. Here's the deal. If you win, you get to try again. Blah 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 blah. But that was all 100,000 years ago. So let's say again, for the sake of something interesting happening here, Damon loses. Damon gets his rematch against Demolanta. Let's say Demolanta wins a second time. Now the winner of Kelly v. Molly Damon
matters.
then has to play the Hunter. And then there's a chance that within the first month or two of season 8, there is potential for the Star Wars belt to change hands 2 or 3 times. Like there's potential for it to happen. Again, whether or not it's a safe bet is a different conversation. If you're going off of statistics, it is
Damon's going to win.
Highly unlikely that chain of events that I just described happens. But the fact that it could, like the fact that there's a chance that all of this gets all fucky-wucky very quickly in the Star Wars division, I think would be interesting. I think would, there's definitely still hype in the Star Wars division. There's a reason why most of the rookie prospects are from Star Wars.
Well, because, I mean, the whole idea is this is the rookie class that might beat Damon.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's what they have going.
Like we're training an entire generation of Star Wars players just to take on Alex Damon. So that really, really interests me as to where that could go. For drama, oh God, I can't wait to see Bateman versus Riley. That's going to be a lot of fun. I think as far as plot lines go, I think this is going to be the moment where we figure out the true level of heeldom from Ben.
Yeah.
I think this is where we find out if he's like a full tilt villain now or if he's just a slightly pissier version of Ben the Boss Bateman that we got last season. So that interests me a lot, just because I love both of them. Chance and Brendan Meyer excites me, even though one of us is going to be rubbing it. Pardon me, long day at work. One of us is going to be bothering or heckling the other one over the outcome.
Yeah.
Whom is doing the heckling is TBD. But
we'll find out that week.
Listen, in a fair universe, it's my turn to hold a defeat over you.
You still hold Smets v. Kalinowski round 1 over me.
I know it's empty though. I do it because I know it's all I have left. After a KO at Spectacular, I'm aware of the fact that I can't talk shit. It doesn't stop me from talking shit, but I'm aware of the fact that I don't have a leg to stand on while I do it.
Plus, how can you talk shit about Brendan? How? That's not fair. He's just a kid.
Well, cobras eat kids, and I'm looking forward to seeing that happen.
I don't think that's true.
I
don't think cobras eat people.
They
bite people, but they don't eat people.
In the nature rock paper scissors game, cobras beat kids.
But they like straighten out and form clubs, and then they whack the kids.
No, just one gulp.
Oh.
It's like a Looney Tunes cartoon where like you still see the outline of the kid. Like they're not even dead. It's just like
oh, it's warm in here.
Standing straight up like, oh man, it stinks. Like that kind of shit. Yeah, very excited. Friend of the show, Video Drew. I wish I could cheer for you, bud, but no one's gonna pull me away from corruption this season. So I'm not going to be cheering for anybody who isn't in corruption. Is there anybody you're surprised to not be seeing that you're not seeing play in the first wave here?
Not really. I guess Robert Parker, but I think it makes sense to kind of slow roll. I mean, we're getting our title match as the season opener. I think to slow roll your Inner Geekdom stuff makes sense. Amaro Moses is a big name rookie from what it sounded like. I mean, he was a first round draft pick, I think.
Absolutely.
I think Brandon Handa and Eric Zipper are both big deals because now they're under new management, right?
Yeah. That's another one I'm excited for. I really want to see Brandon Hanna. We've both been talking about like how much we both really want to be big Brandon Hanna fans.
I wouldn't even say that. I just want to see him like not get screwed out of the match, I guess. Because I feel like that's just been happening to him.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So I think that'll be cool. Besides that, I mean, the Star Wars matches are going to be fun because I think Star Wars matches that don't involve Alex Damon are a lot of fun. And that's not a shot at Alex Damon or anyone else. Just, I watch those matches going, okay, when does the fall happen? And there's you feel it. Like you feel the color drain from their face as soon as they miss a question. Especially if it's in round one. Like their manager comes on and like, you did fantastic. You only missed one. You're doing great. And they're just like,
that's code for, hey, you might have a perfect round two. That'll be good for your stats.
Yeah. Like you might get lucky and spin your category on round two. Like maybe you're really good at Phantom Menace or something, and you might get even luckier, and he's gonna have to go like really use the bathroom in round two and just miss all his questions. And somehow Damon would still win.
I love the reoccurring bit of the only way to beat Alex Damon is some like
to get him out of the match.
Asinine force of nature.
Yeah.
Or like now he just has violent diarrhea that prevents him from competing.
It's a viable strategy. Especially if Molly's play in the event that Molly wins the first contender match and Alex wins this and they have to play each other just like for dinner that night she slips him a laxative and then in the middle of the match
it's this full fucking 90s sitcom of just and her opponent
conceding because he is on the toilet. Alex Damon.
No, again, but we keep making jokes about Alex will get like deathly ill. No, it's just going to be his version of the Michael Jordan like stomach bug game, which I recently learned he did not have the flu. He just had really bad food poisoning from what I understand.
Huh. Neat.
But everybody just says it was the flu because he was sweating, puking, and shitting a lot. But that'll be what Damon does. Is that he'll show up, he'll be as green as the letters on your hoodie, and he'll just be like
Darth Maul.
Oh, Francis. Like, he'll just be pulling and be clearly on his deathbed.
Captain Nita.
Shut up. I'm
still waiting for we turn on the pay-per-view because usually we watch them after they're done airing. And the match is coming to an end, like they're in round 5 and it's wrapping up and we're like, there's still a whole nother hour on this. What's going on?
Dun, 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 dun,
yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm waiting for the day that someone just randomly drops a Star Wars player from their roster and then doesn't announce who they picked up. And I'm going to be like, okay, that's Sam Witwer. He's back.
I can only dream. Speaking of Captain Nita style misses, did I tell you about my hysterical blunder in my first Star Wars Fan League match?
No.
So I was playing Eli of Star Wars in a Galaxy. Shout out! I know he listens. Well played. The question was, what does Rio in Solo Star Wars Story say he wants to do after he retires? The answer was open a cantina. I don't know what part of my brain decided to forget all Star Wars lingo. But I straight up was like, open a restaurant.
I thought you were going to say you just open a can of soda.
No, I just straight up went opens a restaurant.
And they wouldn't give it to you?
No, yep, no, that was it was over. It was exactly the situation we were describing earlier, where it's that like you miss one and it's over after that.
Mm-hmm.
After that, rest of the match, Eli and I neck and neck the whole time. But that one question, you're done. And sometimes it's Captain Nita. Sometimes it's really weird and you can't remember it. Other times it's
the word cantina.
You call it a cantina restaurant. So shout out. Check out, I believe there's a name change, so it's no longer the Force Down. It is the Elite Trivia Force Down. Check it out. There's cool stuff coming with it that I'm not going to spoil quite yet, but there's something in the works I think everyone's going to enjoy. So, any more thoughts on upcoming matches for March?
No, I don't think so.
How do you think Snyder and Merle goes, real quick, before we wrap this section up?
I think that all depends on what Snyder has for breakfast. Like if he's on fire, like he's having a great day, I think he could take it. I think if someone pisses in his Cheerios, and I mean that very literally, Merle has it on lock. I think because I've always said Snyder, when he's on, and when he's off. And Roxy does a good job of keeping him on, but it's never 100%.
You can't guarantee that Jeff Snyder is on.
Exactly. And Merle is just a very consistently powerful player, as we saw last season. And I mean, as we've seen forever.
I mean, I don't know. You might want to talk to Tom Dagnino about that, because apparently somewhere in the dossier, he decided that Dan wasn't good enough.
Somewhere in him having a belt for an entire season.
Oh, also another fun little nugget that they talked about on Backstage this week. Apparently, and I told you about this, and you were very entertained by it. There actually was a dossier. I'm not going to keep saying the Dagnino pronunciation. There was a dossier.
The 45-round do-si-do.
But yeah, it did exist. As confirmed by John Roca and Brad Gilmore, there is in fact a dossier. Someone outside of the exchange actually told Brad about the dossier, from what I understand. So anyway,
you can't stop saying dossier now, can you?
I love that word. It's so fun to say. I remember.
I just meant the pronunciation.
Did I say the Dagnino version?
You said dossier again.
God damn it!
Yeah.
Soon I'm going to start looking like Megamind.
Yeah, just the huge collar.
Just the massive collar. That camera angle, Tom, you can, for free, I will let you manage in the studio.
I feel like he's not going to take that offer.
He should.
I feel like that's a lot of flying miles.
It's Bobby Gucci.
Yeah, he can't afford to get COVID. That's less time he has to look at the dossier.
Okay, conspiracy theory. I think the half human, half eldritch being, inbred eldritch being DNA that is inside of Tom Dagnino is like the secret ingredient of the COVID vaccine.
Yeah. They just take vials of it to load into people. That's
exactly. Cool. It's like the McGregor syndrome vials from like Batman and Robin. And conversely, if you've spent any time in the dungeon, you can't get COVID.
Yeah, it's true. By all accounts, I should have had it like 3 times by now.
Yeah. By now, you should have just turned into a bat.
Yeah.
Moving right along to our final topic here with this week's episode. Jesus Christ. Can you tell it's been a long day?
It's not even that late. It's only midnight.
It's only midnight. Oh, yeah. It's only 12:15. Shit. Work kicked my ass. we have the live event coming up on February 19th. We have as the undercard a Star Wars #1 contender. We said the name again. Match between Laura Kelly of.
You almost did it. No, that was on purpose, wasn't it?
I was doing a bit. I was hoping you'd be like, no, it's swag, no. But
I thought you were just genuinely fucking it up.
no. I want everybody at home to know how often I hear that sentence from everybody in the network. I genuinely thought you were just fucking up.
I mean, it's just with your words. Thub and Lunder.
Thub and Lunder. But we have
Did you hear, this is totally off topic. Chris Hemsworth's body double can't keep up with Chris Hemsworth's mass gain for Thor.
That is, I think that's hilarious because that's the reverse of all the rumors about the Batman.
Oh yeah, the stunt doubles.
That the stunt doubles are so much more jacked than our Pats that it is a noticeable difference whenever there's a stunt double in the bat suit and when it's Pattinson. Allegedly. No. But Laura Kelly of Swag Zone toe-to-toe with Molly Damon of The Dungeon. It's just still a weird sentence. Oh, that whole sentence is so weird to say.
I guess I'm cheering for Molly Damon now.
Yes. We like the same joke Kaiser made. You don't want the belt to change homes, just sides of the bedpost.
Yes.
And then the main event will be an Inner Geekdom title defense where Chandru Dandapani is going to try to keep the belt away from the returning brown dwarf star, Mara Kanopik. Travis,
Yeah.
let's talk about the undercard first. How do you think this is going to shake out?
Well, I think that I don't know. They're both very strong players. I think Laura has the edge because she's just played more. You know, I mean, she's played Damon for the belt before. She has the experience. I think that, and not that that's not to discount Molly. You know, she did very well in her first few matches.
Absolutely.
I think it could come down to how Kaiser has prepared Molly. Because I think Laura's one of those players that can do fine no matter who her manager is. Especially when you're when you're changing from Shannon to Winston, you're changing from the best manager in the league to the second best manager in the league, at least by the numbers. So like, I don't think she's gonna have a problem. But I think that if Kaiser gets Molly on a mission, I think she'll be all right and could definitely take it. I think this will be a more neck and neck match. You know, not necessarily Scrimshaw and Demolanta, but definitely one that comes down to the wire.
It's definitely going to go to distance. There's one thing I want to say, because I agree with you. I do. If I were a betting man, if I were to put money on this match, I'm definitely putting money on Laura Kelly.
Yeah, I think again that's the safe bet, but Molly has the capacity to win.
It's a safer bet. It's not a sure bet.
Yeah,
and I think that's a very important distinction. And there's one thing I also want to address that I don't like how often this talking point comes up with Molly Damon, is that she is just as much Star Wars Explained as Alex is. And a lot of the time, the conversation about Molly ends up being, well, she's Alex Damon's wife.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't know. I've never liked that that's kind of been the way it's discussed, where it's like, no, she's the other half of Star Wars Explained. You know, yeah, Alex has had time to ruminate in the fandom a little longer. And like I said before, again, there is no such thing as fandom seniority, but when it comes to something like Star Wars and trivia for it, the longer you've been around, the longer you've had to consume absurd deep lore.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes a factor. So, all of that said, I do think Molly Damon does get slightly counted out sometimes because the phrase ends up being it's Alex Damon's wife.
I think it works both ways. I think people use that as like, of course she has a lot of knowledge. Like, even if she wasn't into Star Wars, she would pick it up by osmosis.
Yeah.
And so that, like, being Alex's wife would put her ahead, even if she wasn't as involved as she is. But at the same time, they'll use it as like to say that she isn't as involved as she is, and to knock her down a peg. And like you said, I don't think that's just not correct. So
yeah, but I do agree. I think the more proven player is Laura Kelly, but there absolutely is room for an upset here. Again, Laura is capable of bleeding. We've seen her lose to Alex Damon, which, not like you can hold that against anybody. But we also have seen, she was defeated by Ace. That was, again, one of the upsets of the year, right? I do still prefer Laura in this matchup.
For me, it's like a 60-40. Like, it's that close to me.
Yeah, you're right with that.
We're like, it was kind of the same thing with my, I don't usually make brackets, but like I do a rough bracket where I'm like, I think this is who's going to go the distance on this side and on this side. And Laura was my person on her side of the bracket because I'd seen her play and I knew what she could do. And so I was like, yeah, she's going to take this side of the bracket. In the same way on the other side, I said Scrimshaw, and we saw how that turned out. And that's kind of where those players are for me, where like if it's them versus somebody I'm not as familiar with, or I think isn't as familiar with the league, then I go with that player as the safe bet. There was a match on here I was thinking that for. We still have the other matches pulled up. I don't remember who it was, so it's fine. But yeah, just in general.
Yeah.
Merle versus Snyder.
Oh, yeah.
Different reasoning, but like Merle's the more consistent player, so my money would go to Merle. But watching the match, I think you'd be able to tell like, oh, Snyder's got this. Versus in the same way, different reasoning. I think my money would go on Laura, but watching the match, I would, you could reasonably see Molly winning.
I think there's also, and this is where I will say, like, her involvement with the Star Wars Explained YouTube channel, I think becomes a really important factor here for this reason. I think she has spent most of her time as a hardcore Star Wars fan living in the minutia. Like, most people have that, like, they slowly walk into that ocean of information. Like, you're a kid, you've maybe played a video game, maybe you read a book, or maybe you read a comic, maybe you read a book. Now you're reading like full-on novels, and you're slowly wading into the point where it's like all of these books, all of these comics, all of these video games. You have this vast array of knowledge that, again, yes, the trivia is limited to the movies, but there's some stuff that you will pick up by osmosis from the other material that is not explicitly said in the movies, but that gives you context for the movies. And I think the players who have that beyond the movies information are the ones who are going to compete the best. I feel like Molly has spent most of her time as a Star Wars fan already in the deep end. Mm-hmm. Where like most of her consumption of Star Wars has always been like count the number of buttons on that computer type shit. Because we're going to make a video listing Easter eggs, and it's an Easter egg because this computer screen is red. And you have to remember that. I think it's that, like, she's already in that mindset, that headspace. And I think that's probably a good part of why Alex Damon does so well, is that his bread and butter is minutia, already, because of the YouTube channel. So I think that's Molly's strongest suit, is the fact that the entirety of her background with Star Wars is rooted in counting toes on aliens. Mm-hmm. Any more thoughts on the Star Wars undercard?
Nah, not really.
Moving on to the main event. Try to be unbiased.
I hate to say it. In the same way that I don't like saying that Shannon is the best manager in the league as it stands right now, but it's just like from what we've seen the past season, that's just how it is.
My season 7 champions shirt is on its way in the mail.
If I was a betting man, I would bet on Chandra. I hate that. I despise that. But it's true. I saw somebody in the Facebook group today or yesterday running the numbers on like Mara's correct answer percentage versus Chandra's. And I think that's the difference of when Mara left versus when Chandra came in, where Mara left as we had that like brief interlude of you're going to have to beat Kalinowski or Cushing at some point, right? And Chandru came in at that point where that, like, coming in as a rookie, that was your goal. We're like, I'm going to have to compete with either Cushing or Kalinowski. And, oh, who's this Smets guy? Like, that's kind of, because, I mean, that's pretty much what the Intergeekdom was in Season 6, was like, Smets running through and Chandru and Brandon Hanna kind of laying in their groundwork of like, we're going to be pivotal players here. And then it just became Chandru was a pivotal player here.
I love you, Brandon. Don't change.
I mean, I guess change back? Unchange? I don't know.
Unchange me, Roxy.
Unbird me, Walter.
Deep lore.
I think that movie is on HBO Max.
No shit.
Is that on HBO Max or Netflix? I want to say.
Oh god, I have so much High Republic stuff to finish. You're gonna like.
Did you ever watch Spies in
I
Disguise?
never got a chance to actually watch it.
I enjoyed it. I paid money to see that movie in a theater and was not disappointed. No shit. But what was I saying? Something.
Talking about like the state of the division.
Yeah, that like Mara's correct percentage was like 68% and Chandru's is like 87%. Like Chandru started and became the champion of an Intergeekdom division where missing one question can be the difference between winning and losing. And Mara left right before it became that division. I think she knows that, and I think she's preparing accordingly, especially she's with the dungeon. So, like, you have Robert Parker, and Kaiser knows how to manage for Intergeekdom because duh. So,
duh.
You have, I think she's in the right place to be preparing. And again, just as the betting man in me puts the money on Chandru as the safe bet. But I think, round 1 will be like the big deciding one for me. Where like and I think Chandru too has that, like, he gets very confident and doesn't lose it even when he misses. So like if they leave round 1 and Chandru's in the lead, especially if he gets a perfect round and she doesn't.
That's one thing. I'm interrupting you for a second. That I truly do think Chandru deserves praise for is that, and we've talked before, like how much of Chandru Dandapani is the dude Chandru Dandapani and the heel character of Chandru the Chosen Dandapani. Like where's the line? I do truly think him as a person is that cool in the match. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. Like he would not be able to play this character that, like, I say this well. He wouldn't be able to keep up that persona if he wasn't confident in his ability, and he showed before playing this character he is that confident and that good at this game. So like if we leave round 1, he's at a perfect match. He hits the bonus question, and maybe Mara's at 8 or 9. I think he's gonna seeing your opponent be that far ahead, and also being like, I know this match is over. Like, I know I'm not gonna miss unless I spin like opponent's choice, and you give me something like Indiana Jones or something, and even then, that's not a guarantee.
Even like a scores or I feel
Scores
like
and soundtracks.
I feel like, again, like for somebody like Chandru, I think obviously just because of how relatively new he is to his status as champion, he's not had time to ruminate in the division the way that Alex Damon has become the Star Wars division. Like in that same way where Rachel Cushing had that, we are the league with the Shire Wolves. Like Alex Damon is the Star Wars division for better or worse. And next week is all about whether or not that can ever change. Chandru right now is the face of the IG.
Yeah.
And for good reason. And I think that there's that same way where it's like, okay, Alex Damon spun an opponent's choice. And granted, like, I don't even think, when's the last time that son of a bitch even had to have one of those? I'd say, I don't think he's a son of a bitch. When's the last time this motherfucker had like one of like a spinner's choice or opponent's choice on a wheel?
I wanna point out really quick. You went, he is not a son of a bitch. That motherfucker.
Okay, I think.
But yeah, no, and
I think the MF is like,
without that kind of volatility on the wheel, it's even more of a lock at that point.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, when's the last time Alex had to even like look at the green or the red slice in Star Wars? You know,
because doesn't he get to choose if it's there?
Yeah, he it's his pick as to whether or not his spinners or opponents is.
I don't even know what you give him at that point.
That's what I was about to say with Chandru. Like, what do you give him? Like,
it has to be either mixed bag or scores and soundtracks.
Mixed bag, scores or soundtracks. There are new Inner Geekdom categories coming.
Oh, I didn't know.
That's a thing. That there are going to be like different codified IG leagues. There isn't a confirmation of what they are. Either they're going to announce them this week or we find out during the match. But like off the top of my head, like maybe Indy gets his own category because he used to kind of hang out in mixed bag.
Mixed bag used to be the Indiana Jones and Back to the Future category.
I think we might just straight up get Back to the Future and Indiana Jones as new categories.
And then have mixed bag be like actually a random question.
I like mixed bag end up with shit like the Green Hornet.
Yeah.
Like sorry, it was the first one that came to mind, but I don't mean to salt the wound.
Yeah, but
just mentioning the Green Hornet is almost on like the level of like a Don't Tell Peter or like fourth round Roka. Like they're almost at the same level of like salt in the wound. But I think I like mixed bag scores and soundtracks. Even then, like scores and soundtracks in the Inner Geekdom. Like you
just say Hans Zimmer.
John Williams. You need to know John Williams, Hans Zimmer, Howard Shore, Michael G. Kino, Danny Elfman, and you're pretty safe. Like if you know those 5,
you can dartboard it,
and you can like go, okay. Well, I know it's not Hans, and I know it's not John. Maybe it's Ludwig Göransson. Like there's room to play at that point.
Yeah. And again, that's assuming that those slices are on the wheel.
It definitely won't be because that's kind of like that's kind of like the weird like Schmodown Bushido code
of like you just don't do that for a title match.
You don't put spinners or opponents on the wheel if there's a title shot or a tournament win on the line.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not trying to count Mara out. I think as long as she's aware she's coming into a very different game. And I think her being with Dan all last season, just for the matches, and also, I don't know why I said also, that was it. Like, also her having Dan to study. And like living with a person who plays, or living with your manager, automatically increases your game in like the way they play now. Like Mike Kalinowski has a leg up, and I don't mean that in the like to push him down way, but like he's at an advantage because you don't have to schedule the Zoom call.
I think he's at an advantage because he chooses to be there, though. I think there's a level of
there's a level of
you
like,
live with your manager or you live with another,
and you
live
slack
with a
off
player.
because of it. But like, yeah, and again,
You not only could you slack off, like you could choose to go in either direction of like training like everybody else does or taking advantage of the fact that you have that person right next to you. Like I am convinced that like when Shannon wakes up in the morning, like she wakes up, stands up, slaps Mike in the face and goes, "Who played Victor Zsasz in Batman Begins? Wake up. Who played Victor Zsasz in Batman Begins?" Like there's like that kind of like that's what's going on in that house.
yeah, and like, and again, I mean, but it's the same thing with Mara and Dan, where like they're going to utilize that. I feel like they're the kind of players that utilize that, and so especially if Dan is looking to get into Inner Geekdom, which please do, I'm excited for it. I think she's primed to at least compete. And I think round 1 will be notable as to whether or not she really has a shot. After this, you know, Chance. I am curious to see how Amaru Moses plays, because first round draft pick IG players, right? Like I gotta see what that's about. Brandon Hanna, if Roxy can get him on the Jeff Snyder equivalent of the Inner Geekdom, right? Where like he suddenly just is on a roll, he could have a shot. I feel like that could be like a big main event too, is Hanna v. Chandru, a rematch for the belt. Because they have a history, right? Unlike the Damon Demolanta match, I think this isn't as like locking in for like, and now Chandru is just kind of like the king of Inner Geekdom. I will say though, I think we're like finally shifting away from, and now Mike Kalinowski plays for the belt again, and like obviously, Smets isn't playing this season. So maybe some new blood I'm not aware of comes in and does it.
Yeah, I do think I think the biggest difference between Star Wars and IG right now is that the Inner Geekdom has always maintained that it's anybody's game. There's just somebody who's at the top at the moment, kind of thing. Especially lately, because teams in IG have become these belts that just won't stay put. It's Rachel's, and then it's Mara's, and then it's Mike's, and then it's Smets, and then it's Chandru's, and then it's, it's changing hands, and then it almost goes to Chance, but it still stays to Chandru. There's all these moving parts, right?
Mm-hmm. I think part of why it feels so loose right now is because Mike lost the Chance. And
You think so? That's interesting. I'm interested by this.
I think if Kalinowski had won,
okay,
and then gone on to play Chandru, and especially if he had beat Chandru, that kind of would have cemented in the like. Not that Kalinowski isn't already like one of the greats of Inner Geekdom, but like, I saw you twitch when I said that. I saw that. I think that would have been the difference of this is still anybody's game, and like don't forget, like you have to beat Kalinowski. Like it's the difference of I am drafting this Dragon Con Star Wars player because they need to beat Damon, where like the Star Wars draft is very much like who do I think I can get to finally beat Alex Damon. The Inner Geekdom is not composed of who can I finally get to beat Chandru, and I think there would have been an element of who can I get that I know can take on Kalinowski.
That's interesting.